Hey guys, so in this video I want to talk about why you are not reaching your muscle building growth. So what are the don'ts, like what you should not be doing if you want to grow too much muscle, or which can severely affect your hypertrophy. So there are a few things which I would like to go through, and I'll be putting those points, so definitely you can have a look. So first and most important thing is you're doing too much cardio. See, cardio is a thing which is definitely good for your cardiovascular health, and obviously it is really good for losing fat. But if you're doing too much cardio, then obviously you won't be building that muscle what you need to build. See, a lot of bodybuilders, a lot of big bodybuilders, what they do is they do a very moderate intensity cardio. Is they don't go for too intense cardio, because what happens when you're doing too much of high intensity cardio, like burpees or all other high intensity cardio, it can lead to gluconeogenesis, which is like where in a process when you're doing too much of a hit session and it goes for a longer period of time, then your body starts using the protein, which is amino acids, which are available for building or synthesis of muscle. It starts breaking them down to produce ATPs. So obviously the protein which should be available for building muscle is not available anymore. So that's why too much of cardio can result in a lot of bad impact on your obviously on your muscle building process. And then obviously you're skipping meals. So meals is a really important part of your diet. You need to have a right amount of protein in your diet. So I would recommend go to a TDEE calculator, and based on that you will understand that what is your basic maintenance calories. So there is the basal metabolic index, so which tells you what is like your, like for your normal day-to-day activity, because this body is always active even if you're sleeping. The things are working inside you, and actually in the recovery phase you make more synthesis of muscle than usually when you're awake. So body is always active, and when body is hyperactive, so there is certain energy which it needs all the time. So there is a particularly a basic amount of calories which it needs. So when you start eating above your basic calorie needs, that's where the main fat building, fat gaining or muscle building process starts. So what you eat, that's the main point. So basically you need to be going on a little bit more higher on your protein intake. What usually works for me is I normally take 1.5 grams protein per kg, or sorry, per pound of my body weight. So that's what I use. So it might be different for you. You could go maybe lower or a little bit higher. It's totally up to you based on your goals. So that's where I make most muscle, is when I start eating 1.5 gram of protein per pound of body weight. So you need to eat a good, delicious meal. It has to be delicious, because if it is not delicious, obviously you will be not be sustaining onto it, because bodybuilding or building muscle is all about long-term goals, not just short-term goals. So if you want to build for a stay for a longer duration, the meals has to be really good and delicious. And then other thing which you should be avoiding is drinking too much. If I'm not saying you're not allowed to have some socializing, or you can't have too much, you can't drink, you can, it's a fun part of life. You should be indulging on those things definitely, but not too much. Too much like drinking every day or having a beers every day, you know how much extra calories you're eating, and obviously it affects your metabolism, and the energy which is required to build up protein, like build up muscle, is not there when you're drinking too much. Then next thing is neglecting sleep. See, the body recovers most when you are sleeping. So if you want to use some sleeping aid, but at least you need 7 to 8 hours of sleep, where the body, you know, is in completely rest stage, and that's where you build most muscle. Because during the day when you're active, you're almost always consuming and using energy. But at that time, the body is in recovery phase, so so you try not to sleeping for a few days. You will feel that like how it negatively impacts your overall life. So if you want to make something good out of your training, which you're putting a really hard work on, then obviously I'll say do at least have at least 7 to 8 hours of sleep. And if you need to listen to some sleeping music, there are so many ways out there. You can do meditation, meditation helps when you focus on your breath while you're sleeping, so you go to sleep immediately. But make sure you sleep at least 7 to 8 hours every day. And when you're doing that, obviously the body's recovering, the growth hormone is, the body's hormonal function is doing pretty in a neat way and balanced form, and obviously that will help you in growing a lot of muscle. So recovery is really, really important, and for that you need to have a pretty good effective sleep. And then another point is, you are might be holding back in gym. So if you are in a gym and if you are there, so I've seen so many people, they just come there and they're always on their phone or talking to their friends or not doing a complete set, and then not focus on what they want to do. They just do 5 or 6 exercises and they go. You have to be very much focused on what you want to do, because you are there. So you're there all for almost an hour. It's so hard for people to come to gyms. Most of the people out of 100, like almost 70 or 80 people, they are just there for normal fitness, but you are there for your certain goal. And if you are there, you're coming out all the way, you're paying the gym for all those things, you might be using a personal trainer. But so when you're there, at least give you 100%, and so that you can make most out of it. If you are not giving 100%, do drop sets, do any exercise till you feel like you are exhausted. So you can do supersets. So anything, whatever you want to do, high intensity workout or a lot of volumes. So whatever mix and match you're doing, but give you 100%. When you're there, just be focused on your particular muscle, what you're doing, and then do as hard as you can go. And then obviously another one is, you might be training less. You need to train at least each muscle part twice a week. So if you're doing just once a week, obviously there's not enough pressure on your muscle. When you put a pressure on the muscle, only then it goes into a, and you need to bring muscle into a shock state. When it shocks, it breaks, and then it synthesizes using amino acids. So after that the muscle goes bigger. If you keep on doing the same thing and not going your all, and obviously you're not giving what you should be, and then you will see the results how they will be. So try to train at least twice a week each muscle part, and then you do need at least 1 day of recovery, or if you can have 2 days of recovery, but at least try to focus on each muscle twice a week. And if you're, another one is, you might be losing your weight too fast. So if you want to lose fat, that's a good thing. Like you need a lean muscle. But if you want to lose, if you're trying too much and you're like doing too much cardio or not eating enough, so you're losing fat too fast, just because of that you will start losing on your muscle. So everybody wants a lean muscle, but there's a way to do it. So you should not be eating lower than your daily calories, which is required for your maintenance. So if you require 2000 calories for your maintenance, so just go 100, like 200 to 300 calories below what your maintenance ranges, and from there you go maintain that slowly and slowly. And after a week or 2 weeks, if you feel like you're not losing enough, go another 100 calories low. But if you're just drastically reducing, like say you normally you're eating 2500 calories, but immediately you go back on 1500 calories, so what are you doing? There's a big gap. So you build up and then you lose everything too fast. So it's a long-term game. So look at this thing in that way, that you have to do it for a longer time. So don't reduce your calories too fast. And same goes to my next point, don't increase your calories too fast. So if like you are at calories of 2000 calories per day, what you needed, but if you start eating like 6000 calories, 4000 calories, so definitely you will put on a lot of fat. And so the best way is you increase it the same way you decrease it steadily, so same way you need to increase it in a steady fashion. So go above your daily calorie need. So go to TDEE calculator and understand what is your calories per day, and then divide that into number of meals what you want to take. You could be taking 4 meals or 3 meals, but 3 is the minimum what you need, even if you're doing intermittent fasting. So in those 8 hours of window, at least try to have 3 meals. If you're just having 2 meals or less than 3, I think you won't be doing justice to the hard work you're doing in the gym. So, but yeah, 4 meals. 4 meals are the best. Some bodybuilders they go for 6 meals, but then you're spending too much time in the kitchen and you have other things to do. So, if you have too much free time, then definitely go for 6 meals. But otherwise, 4 meal or minimum 3 meals. But try to keep your calories a little bit above your maintenance calories, and focus on your protein, and then divide them equally into the number of meals what you're taking. Even if you're doing intermittent fasting, like 16 hours no food and 8 hours you finishing doing eating everything, so divide those 8 hours in such a way that you at least get those 3 meals. And it doesn't has to be a really big meal. You can have a protein bar, or you can make some liquid meal like a smoothie, which is good in protein and good in your greens, and obviously some fruits or like berries. And then on top of that, you're skipping your supplements. See, supplements, as they say, if because there could be a big chance that you're not getting that amount of protein from your food, because food is there. You should be mainly focusing on your food. First of all, your meals should be the main source of those, but there are always so many deficiencies and the kind of food what we are getting these days. So supplements provide a big kickstart, or they supplement uh, on top of what you are doing right now. So supplements, I never skip my supplements. So if you're taking a protein powder, or creatine, or even your free amino acids from like BCAAs or EAAs, or anything you're doing. So even your pre-workout or beta alanine. So those are the supplements which help you in muscle growth. So see what you need, what kind of supplement is good for you, and then based from there you go on using those supplements, and don't skip on those supplements. And then lastly, I want to say that you're lifting with your ego. So if you start lifting with your ego, like I've seen people doing so many heavy, like just to impress other person or just to impress themselves, they go really heavy. But the problem is you can't sustain a heavy load on the body for a really long time. As always said, this is a longer game. It's not a shorter game. So if you're lifting with your ego, then if you're doing too much heavy weights, you're putting too much pressure on your joints, and at certain point the joints will give up, and obviously you will feel lethargic and you will feel demotivated to not to go to gym. So lift weights heavy. If you want to do heavy weights, that's totally fine, but don't do a ego lift, or don't lift weights which are not, because it can lead to a lot of injuries, and which can take you away from the gym. So whatever gains you made, you just lose them. Obviously they will come back because body retains some muscle memory, but again you could be going above from there, but now you're starting again from zero. So there's a big difference. So, and then you will reduce a lot of injuries. So definitely uh, go for intensity, but there has to be a range to it. And then obviously you can mix and match volumes where you do lots of repetitions to bring that pump, or a big pump comes from when you do moderate amount of weight with good amount of repetitions. So that's where you will feel the real soreness. But I'm not saying don't do heavy weights, but it has to be a logical way of doing it. So these are some points. I'll be have written down everything down. You could be looking into it and then see where you stand and what you need to improve. Thank you.